Connections radio show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm glad you've joined the conversation today and are with us. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and the goal of our show is to explore a wide range of topics that challenge us to see ourselves, our community, and the world around us in ways that get us thinking, get us imagining, get us feeling, and perhaps inspired to do something. Whether that may be doing some volunteer work or exploring some art or challenging ourselves to imagine something different for ourselves. I don't know about you, but as I grow older, I think about what's going to happen next. Where will I be? And I look at my home and I think to myself, I like it here. But does my home really support me in the ways as some of the challenges that occur as we get older? And the idea of just making it accommodated for myself isn't what I want. I want something artistic. I want something that has beauty to it. And today I'm excited because there is a wonderful home that is part of the Parade of Homes. And if you've all heard about the Parade of Homes, it's coming up and it's very exciting. It's going to take place here in September. And the dates for that are September 8th through the 30th. And go to the Linden Hills. There is a special dream home there that's going to be celebrating a universality, a design for living. And I've got two of the folks that have created and made this happen here today. I have Peter Crane, who is with Trestle Homes. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you very much, Lori. Great to be here.
This is your vision. This is your baby, isn't it?
It is. It's been a number of years in the making, and we're really excited to get it out there and show the public.
And your partner is Christine Frisk, who does Unison design along with Fuse. And you're partnered with this program.
Yes, we were connected through a mutual friend, and an amazing connector of people, actually. And Peter's home was very attractive to me as a designer because of its ability to create an environment and a living situation that really embraces a lifetime in a home, in a space, accommodating people, young families, and it helps people live comfortably in their space through a variety of life experiences.
And one thing that has struck me about both of you is that you both have a passion for art.
Yeah, well, I actually, it's interesting that this radio station is actually located in Eden Prairie because I actually taught school here for 15 years at Eden Prairie High School. And, in 2001, I actually went out and started my own construction company. I minored in architecture in college at the U, and it was always a passion of mine and had done that through the years while I was teaching. But it's really very similar. Creating is creating. Whether it's a large home, for a lovely family, or if it's in a studio, throwing pottery or making something out of clay, which was my medium. It's very, very similar.
And what struck me is that you had mentioned in your website it's about ideas as well. When you do create art, it's about an idea. And creating an idea for living, I think, is interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. I love, that ability to mold that idea into something that's practical. My art was always practical. I loved making pots that, you could, everything I did was in terracotta, and it was made for gardens and that kind of thing. So you could not only appreciate the aesthetic, this beautiful piece of work, but you could also use it, and architecture is the same. It really allows us to put something out there that people can feel comfortable in and live in and understand, but still appreciate the aesthetic of that experience. It's not just that practical square footage, that space that you need a place to be in, and need to put your stuff in, but there is a warmth and an appreciation you feel when it's aesthetically pleasing too.
And accessibility designed with beauty and comfort. Tell me about that.
Well, again, we're getting into Christine's area a little bit here, but I love the aspect of like I said before, it's getting in there and feeling like it's comfortable. It's like an old sweater. You get in there and you love living in your space. You love coming home after work or coming back from some exercise, and you walk into your space, and perhaps your dog is there or your kids are there or whatever, but you have this just comfortable, warm environment that you feel very very, it reflects your personality, and that's what we try to do for our clients.
And in this home in particular that you've got in the Parade of Homes, you're celebrating lifetime friendly and places that you want to live forever.
Yeah, well, I've personally had a couple of experiences with either clients or personally a family member that has a disability, and those are hard things. When you're dealing with someone that has a disability or is aging, it changes the way you live and how you live in a space, and we find it's building beautiful aesthetic spaces for people is one thing, but building something that is also functional and allows them to really enjoy their home, even if they have a disability of some type, is, that's, as the baby boom generation grows, Absolutely. It's becoming more and more of an issue. And it's not just them. I mean, everybody, there's lots of people that have kids with disabilities or elderly parents that visit that have disabilities.
Chronic illness hits at any
age.
Right.
But, we're trying to work some of those things into the way we design and build new homes.
I think the baby boomer especially, we were talking about this a little earlier, we don't really want to grow up. It's part of it.
Right.
And the idea of needing to do something because we're older doesn't appeal to us. Perhaps we're all a little bit of like Peter Pan in that we want to have that same joy throughout our whole life.
Sure.
So how I remember when I had broken my back shortly after moving into my farm, and we had to do certain accommodations, but they always felt like they were stuck in accommodations, and I took them out after, I no longer needed them. But there was a part of me that went, couldn't there be something beautiful that still accommodates, that doesn't have to, look like a steel addition to something, that it's integrated into the home that has its own beauty?
Yeah. I mean, for sure. Obviously, with a parade home like this, or a home that you're building, the builder is building on spec, we call it. We have this open palette. We can do whatever we want, and building specifically for that purpose, for accessibility, is a lot easier to do then. You can really gently integrate it into the design of the home. Remodeling, like in your situation where, something happened, there was this incident, and now you have to adapt. And sometimes you have to adapt really, very quickly. That's always a little more of a struggle, and that's why we've had a number of remodeling clients that, where we've had to put in elevators, or we've had to open up, all the doors, to
a little wider.
From 2.4 to 36 inches, so that they can get a chair through or a walker through, or they have more access to a bathroom or something like that.
Or the bathroom needs to be redesigned completely as well.
Completely, right. Curbs and showers and, tubs that aren't accessible. It's a little bit more of a challenge on the remodeling side, but, we still look at it like, you still need to live in the space, and you don't want it to feel like it's stuck on, like putting a hand bar here or
they had to do that for me.
Right, exactly.
Otherwise, it would be a pretty house.
Well, and people are still going to visit, and you're going to have friends over for dinner, and, you don't want grab bars everywhere, in your living room, in your family room, and so, you try to design around that, so,
And again, I imagine as you're creating something, as you said, to spec, you can incorporate design features that do support whether it's child-friendly for kids to make sure that it's safe for them, as well as for folks who have challenges. What are some of the things that you incorporate to support that as you're envisioning for this universality of a home?
Well, again, I think, we don't want the house to be any different than any other, urban home. We want to have the same amenities that every other house has. And because it's new, we can even bring some more things, some openness to it. But I would say that, the idea is to make, the accessibility part of it disappear. You don't want that to be the thing that's sticking out there and saying, hey, look at me, I'm a big open bathroom. It's, you want people to still go in there and go, oh, this is a beautiful bathroom. I like the tile. I mean, what a beautiful mirror. And look at this light fixture that Christine picked out. I mean, it's one of those things that, you don't want them thinking about the accessibility. And, having kids running around. I mean, the house we designed in Linden Hills is a great accessible home. But, so far the people, we're working with Edina Realty. Morgan Clausen there is our realtor, and he's a wonderful guy. And he's actually had some open houses while we're under construction, which is a real challenge. But, the people that have walked through it so far, none of them have kids with disabilities, or, they might have a parent that they're thinking about, but really they're looking at it as a home, and that's what we want. I mean, personally, from a business perspective, I want to be able to market this to the widest group of people possible. And so we're trying to make something that works for everybody. But this one in particular has this extra feature of being very accessible. So if someone does have a disability, they're able to feel very comfortable in that space.
And if you want to see this picture, which is gorgeous, we'll talk a little bit more about this urban farm home that in Linden Hills. It's absolutely a dream home. You can go to Trestle Homes. That's TRESTLE homes.com. You'll see the picture when it first comes up, and I know that you'll fall in love with it. I certainly did when I first took a look at it. So stay tuned. We're going to come back and talk more about this beautiful home and ways that it was created. We'll be right back.
In 1994, Quentin Tarantino released Pulp Fiction, a groundbreaking film that changed the way movies were made. The only problem? You couldn't bring your kids. Until now. This year at the Minnesota Fringe Festival, we present a mortar-flagging adaptation of Tarantino's masterpiece, wiped clean of all the offensive sex, drugs, and language, but retaining all the wholesome and socially acceptable violence. Your kids will love it. Note, this show is not actually appropriate for children. A family-friendly Pulp Fiction is presented as part of the Minnesota Fringe Festival, taking place August 2nd through 12th. For more information, look us up on the Fringe Festival website at www.fringefestival.org. A family-friendly Pulp Fiction. Your kids will monster fishing love it. Actually, they won't. You should by no means bring your children to this show.
This is Lori Swanson. Minnesota is a special place. As your Attorney General, I've stood up to powerful interests to keep it that way.
Lori Swanson.
From taking on drug companies that inflated prices and forcing a corporate polluter to clean up our drinking water, to taking on Donald Trump as he attacks what we value most as Minnesotans. Now I'm running for governor because there's too much at stake to let Donald Trump and the special interests push policies that hurt our state.
Swanson for governor.
As governor, I'll continue to defend health care for everyone, and I'll lower the cost of health care and prescription drugs. I'll work to keep our kids safe in school and defend our schools against drastic cuts that jeopardize our kids' futures and our state's economy. I've been proud to be your Attorney General, and as your governor, I'll keep standing up for what's right and get things done for Minnesota.
Lori Swanson for governor.
Prepared and paid for by Swanson for Governor.
Come and see the uplifting drama, Aphrodite's Refugees. The gods play a high-stakes game of cards to determine the fate of one young man and his siblings. A mostly true story based on interviews with refugees. A theatrical play about resilience, perseverance, and family by Mantra Performance. Presented as part of the Minnesota Fringe Festival, August 2nd through 12th.
I miss to sleep in a house. I would like to be awake to see the wall.
Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm Lori Fitz, and today we're talking about homes. We're talking about the parade of homes and a very cool home that's in the Linden Hills that I am encouraging you to go see. It's September 8th through the 30th. And there's something special about this home, that it's also raising money. So I'm going to have Peter, who you got to know in our last segment. Peter Crane is from Trestle Homes and is the main source of getting this whole home started. And he is partnered with Christine Frisk, who is with In Unison Design as well as Fuse. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you, Lori.
Good morning.
So tell me about there's something special that this is also a fundraiser.
Yeah, so the Builders Association of the Twin Cities, often referred to as BATSI, has what they call a dream home selection process. So 4 to 6 homes every parade, and they have a spring parade and a fall parade. Many people are familiar with that. So they select 4. They have a committee that gets together, and they look at the homes that are, and there's tons of homes that are in the parade, and, they look at a few and say, well, this would be a great dream home, and they designate that. So our home was selected as one of the 6 in the fall parade, 6 dream homes. And what they do is they charge a fee to get into that home. So there's a $5 fee to get into the dream home. And that fee goes towards the Builders Association Foundation, the BATSI Foundation. And that's a housing initiative that BATSI puts together, and you can find out more about that on their website. But it's for low-income housing and getting people into homes and doing some construction for for that segment of the population. And it's really it's something that BATSI's really been working hard on the last 5 to 10 years, and doing a really good job with, actually.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
It is. It's wonderful. We hear about housing shortages all the time, and the lack of affordable housing, and BATSI's really kind of taking that head on.
And as I mentioned in the last segment, this house is magical. I can't wait to see it. It is an urban farm home. And we heard from Peter about Trestle Homes in our first segment, and his reaching out to Christine Frisk through being connected through a friend of theirs that knew that they would work well together. So Christine, one of the things that you've mentioned to me earlier is design changes for bettering the human condition. I love that. Tell me more about what that means to you.
Well, at a very core level, it affects everybody's lives, right? Design does affect our lives and how we experience space and how we feel comfort in the environments that we're in. And that ranges from commercial, hospitality, restaurant, retail, workplace. But in this particular instance, we've really focused on the home where you get nurtured when you return each time, the home where you raise your family, the home where you entertain, the home where you make memories. And so the dream home that Peter's been talking about is the one that we've been creating together for this upcoming tour. And it's really about creating space that is lifetime friendly. Mm-hmm. Lifetime friendly from raising children to lifetime friendly if you possibly have a disability. Mm-hmm. And we've looked at a lot of different strategies in this house on how we can incorporate that lifestyle.
Now, you started out doing work for ADA, right?
Well, early in my career, I worked with a woman that evaluated commercial spaces around the state and helping them become ADA compliant. Schools, churches, mostly public spaces. And that was something that really affected me very early in my career, about creating space that allowed all different types of abilities to feel comforted and welcome in the space that they were using.
Create that integration.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I've also noted that you incorporate art and light. Those are 2 things when I went to your website. And for folks who want to go to her website, it's just a fun journey of looking at different ways to approach, as she mentioned, the office, the residential, the hospitality. She celebrates each with a very special artistic design, and that's inunisondesign.com. But But tell me more about art and why you feel that's important to incorporate.
Well, I actually have another company called Fuse. I'm a partner in that with my husband. And Fuse has developed a beautiful relationship with the Minneapolis College of Art and Design, where we showcase art only from students and practitioners that graduated from that program. And we feel that art is just another layer of how you experience and express yourself in the spaces that you're using. And the way that they help create unity between the structure of the house, the interior design of the house, the personality of the people using that space. So art is such an incredible layer for creating that overall feel and experience in your space.
So tell me a little bit about your process. How do you make the decisions that you make when you start on a project?
For me, process is huge. Of course, design is the end result, but process is so important for what we do. And that first process is really discovery with our client. In this particular case, it was sitting down and really getting to know the house that Peter was creating. And that phase is what helps us and guides us in everything that we do moving forward. We learn about the specific needs. We learn about the aesthetic that the client's trying to capture. We really get to know the person and the people that are going to be using those spaces.
Well, now, this one you were sort of making up on your own as to what it was going to be. So there must have been something that led you in terms of what's the heart of this project. Was there something that you discovered in bringing to life a lifetime living space?
Well, I think first and foremost, it was the passion that Peter had for this home. And he had this really unique location in Linden Hills, which I think supported that overall lifetime friendly location because you're on the bus line, you're connected to a neighborhood community, you're connected to the lakes and the parks, the grocery stores you need, the dentists you need.
The trails.
The trails. I mean, it's a very beautiful location for a family or for somebody that maybe has a disability that doesn't allow them to drive a car anymore, or they need public transportation. And so part of that, that the location of that was very attractive to me. The second piece was that we wanted a house that was both beautiful when you entered it, but also had all these hidden characteristics that accommodated, a lifetime of use. From wider doorways that allow accessibility, 36-inch doorways we used throughout the space. We accommodated cabinetry with drawers on the lower portion of the cabinets so that people of all abilities could use this. But quite honestly, I put drawers in almost every kitchen because it's a better way to store your product, to have access to your dishes. You're not reaching overhead. It creates a very easy flow in a space. We also created a lot of light in this space through many windows. We actually added windows throughout in the middle of this process.
More! Give me more light!
Right,
Yeah,
right.
more light, more exposure to the outside. And then the other thing that we've done is our bathrooms also have the ability to have additional grab bars added to them. There's free and clear space as you access the sink. And we can talk a little bit more about that as we move forward.
Yes, you heard the music. So we're coming to an end to this segment, but I am wanting to learn more about this urban farm home. I also am intrigued by the idea of bringing the farm to the city and also the integration into Linden Hills and how appropriate that is for this wonderful home. So stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break for some great announcements, but stay with us. We'll be right back.
Do you ever feel like the sidekick in your friendship? Has your name tag ever been printed Jamie's friend? Is your Instagram full of pictures of your friends and your elbow? You may be suffering from sidekick-itis, but there is a cure. Come see Next the Musical, a sidekick story, created by Angela Fox, Jason Kruger, and Tim Wick. A new kids musical playing at the Minnesota Fringe Festival August 2nd through the 12th. For more information, look us up on Facebook, Next the Musical, a sidekick story, or find our page on minnesotafringe.org. We hope to see you at Next the Musical, a sidekick story.
Now through September 1st at the Museum of Russian Art is an exhibition of Minneapolis-based painter Leon Husha. The art of Leon Husha, Balancing Act, showcases more than 50 pieces from 29 different collectors in the largest show ever of his bold and colorful work. A hometown favorite, the energy of Leon's playful art spans sculptures, paintings, and non-traditional media. See for yourself today and bring home a signed print or exhibition catalog from the museum store. For details, visit tmora.org.
Connections Radio Show is all about tapping into our hardwired hunger to connect. We examine meaningful connections to ourselves, our community, and the world around us. By opening the door to innovative insights by a wide variety of interesting guests, we'll make the connections to something bigger than ourselves. Join me, Lori Fitz, your host of Connections Radio Show, and together we'll make the connections. Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Come and see the uplifting drama, Aphrodite's Refugees. The gods play a high-stakes game of cards to determine the fate of one young man and his siblings. A mostly true story based on interviews with refugees. A theatrical play about resilience, perseverance, and family by Mantra Performance. Presented as part of the Minnesota Fringe Festival, August 2nd through 12th.
I miss to sleep in a house. I would like to be awake to see the wall.
With your AM 950 weather, this is Eric Nelson. Today will be partly cloudy with a high of 90 and a low of 66. Tomorrow, mostly sunny with a high of 89 and a low around 69. Monday will be sunny once again with a high of 90 and a low around 69. Mount Hill Meats is your neighborhood full-service butcher shop, working directly with family farmers to offer you beef, lamb, goat, pork, and poultry, in addition to delicious handcrafted sandwiches. Check them out at 1934 Hennepin Avenue in Minneapolis.
Welcome back to Connections Radio Show. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and we've been talking about accessible homes, but with a twist, really celebrating a whole lifetime of living, lifetime of celebration in a home. And we've had the delight and opportunity to get to know Peter Crane, who's with Trestle Homes. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we've been talking to Christine Frisk, who is the partner in design, and she is the lead, the president, the founder of In Unison Design, and partners with her husband with Fuse.
That's correct. Good morning.
Good morning. Now, we were talking in the last segment a little bit about windows, and then we also talked about the bathroom. But let's go back to the windows, because that's something that struck me when I first looked at this urban farmhouse. It was like, wow, these huge windows is bringing the inside out and the outside in, and really creating, I would imagine, more light and playfulness.
Absolutely. And, light is a big part of how we experience space. And it's actually a big part of, for people with sight impairments, light is a big part of creating contrast in space and helping you experience that in a more practical and safe way. And I think the windows that were added in this process were really valuable in that. We opened up the entire backside of the house and the kitchen.
And the choices that you made, Peter, for that, how did you decide what windows to bring in?
Well, our company has had a partnership with Marvin Windows for many years. Occasionally we'll do a project where an architect will spec another product, but when we do our own work, we primarily use Marvin Ultimate Windows, and in this one we used their Ultimate Casement product, and comes with a pre-finished black interior, which is really nice. So the sashes are all pre-finished, which saves a couple steps in the process for us. But they're also clad on the outside in black, and so you get this really kind of neat stark contrast. We have the white siding and the board and batten, and then those black windows. It's very striking, actually. But Christine mentioned, it's kind of funny because we did the design for the kitchen, and we had this kind of layout kind of sketched out, and we actually had started framing at that point, and Christine really started hitting the road and kind of pushing drawings out to us for cabinet design and that kind of thing. And she's like, it would really be nice if we had a giant picture window right in the middle of this kitchen. And I'm like, well, sure, we can make that happen. So we ended up opening up that. We added some more in this desk area off to the side, and
that's right. We created a completely separate pantry.
Yeah, and it was kind of a fun process and that's why you bring someone like Christine to the table, because she'll see things that, my head's been in it for a year. You really start to miss things, and when you bring that outside resource in, it sometimes you grasp that one little thing that's really going to make a difference. And now, the front of the house is all glass. The back of the house is all glass. You can see right through the house. It's just this gorgeous sight lines. And
it really is.
So
and the contrast is so sharp, like you said, with the black and the white.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important to see this home not only because it's absolutely gorgeous. And again, if you want to take a look at it, you can go to tresselhomes.com. It comes right up, and you can see it's both modern as well as like comfy farmhouse style with this beautiful front porch that you just want to go up and sit on the porch and be there. But it also is a good idea because we all may be facing at some point in time a surprise life event. It's nice to see that there are beautiful places that are created that can support you for that. You were going to start to talk to us about the bathroom, and I had to cut you off in our last segment because we were coming down to the end. You had some things that you wanted to say about creating the bathroom.
Yes, so the bathroom that we've designed has the fully integrated ability to be friendly for people of many different types of disabilities. So when you walk in this bathroom right now, it's beautiful. You don't look at it and think that this is a bathroom that's been designed for somebody possibly in a wheelchair, but all the details, all the aesthetics have been thought through at the highest level. But it has a roll-in shower. It has the ability to add hand bars where needed. And some of the clients that are walking through may not put that in, but there might be somebody someday that wants to add that hand bar, that they have an extra, maybe they have an attendant that needs to help them shower. It has all the abilities to take those kind of moves in the future. And I think that's the beauty of design today, is that we do care about aesthetics. Lifetime-friendly design does not need to be unattractive. It's okay for lifetime-friendly design to also enhance your spirit through beauty and art and provide that function that you may need at some point. I think there's a statistic that I was looking into a few days ago, and by the time you're 65, more than 35% of us will have a disability of some type. And the overall population in the U.S. has, on average, 12 to 13% of the population that has some type of cognitive, physical, sight, or hearing disability. And our homes need to be able to accommodate those things.
And not only for ourselves or our family, but friends as well.
Right.
How do we
who come to our homes.
A community of space that makes it welcoming for all, I think is really important. You'd mentioned about passion, and that what inspired you in working with Peter was his passion. One of the things that's come to my attention is that there's not as many people that you can go to that really understand the needs of creating a home that is accommodating for a variety of disabilities. Tell me a little bit about that passion, Peter, and why that's important to you.
Well, I think, it's always, the kind of accessible or barrier-free design has always been something that, I've been interested in. But it really, about 10 years ago, my sister was on a run. She was running in the Milwaukee area, and she was struck by a car, and she suffered a TBI, traumatic brain injury, and so she's in a wheelchair now, and she has very limited mobility, and she struggles cognitively as well, and I ended up being her guardian. She wasn't married, and so we kind of manage her care finances and all that kind of thing. But at that point, it's like you were kind of thrown into this arena, you're out with Jenny and you're trying to find a bathroom,
right.
Or you're visiting someone's house and you're trying to get her, in the kitchen or even in the front door. And you start to realize when you're thrown into that situation that there are barriers everywhere, and it's such a struggle. And that's why we have the ADA, so that, we don't have to struggle with that as much, that when you're out in public, you can find places that aren't full of barriers. And so I thought, I'm in the industry, I'm building homes, but there isn't really an ADA requirement for homes, and nor maybe should there be. I mean, I don't know that all homes should be designed that way because it would take enormous amounts of square footage, to accommodate all those rules. But at the same time, houses could be a lot more accessible than they are.
And the whole home doesn't necessarily.
No,
maybe just part of it so that it allows for a space.
Christine was talking about the bathroom, and that is truly a barrier-free bathroom. I mean, you can go in there with a walker or a wheelchair or a cane, and you can go anywhere in there and not have to lift a foot, step over anything, go around anything. I mean, it doesn't necessarily feel like that when you walk into it, but when you practically take a chair and wheel it in there, I mean, you will instantly notice that barrier-free aspect,
We stood in that bathroom together.
Oh, yeah.
And thought about, okay, how do we get a person that needs to be in a seated position with possibly an attendant in this shower? How does it function for them? What are the realities of that day-to-day experience for who may need to use that bathroom? But also, how is it a bathroom for somebody that doesn't have that disability right now? And so incorporating beauty and functionality starts at the very beginning, but has the ability to, morph into what that need may be in the future. And we thought about that a lot.
Yeah, and frankly, if you're a teenager and, you don't have a disability, you're just a normal teenager and you end up with that room at the end of the hallway and that's your bathroom, that's a great bathroom for a teenager,
I'm thinking about moving in.
Yes,
I have to tell you, when I first saw the bathroom in the picture, and again, you can go to Trestle Homes to see it, when I saw it, I was like, that is so cool. That's gorgeous. Is that what is the material that you use that's
the wood? Are you talking about
there's
the wood?
wood,
Yes.
but there's also in the shower itself.
It's all ceramic tile.
The shower's all porcelain.
The
porcelain
tile is gorgeous, but it looked like it might be something. It almost looked like it was actual rock or something. It was just so beautiful.
Well, and we did a really unique banding in that
must be it.
bathroom that created kind of some built-in niches that were part of that banding. And then we also incorporated a waterproof product from Dynoc, which is a 3M generated product that goes up like a wall covering, but when once it's applied, it really looks like wood and it's waterproof. So that's product we use behind the sink in the bathroom. The sink is actually floating, which is something that's a very sought after design now.
But works well.
But it's beautiful, so somebody in a chair can roll up underneath it and have a fully accessible experience there too.
Well, you were also mentioning about soundproofing some of the rooms and helping in not necessarily this house, but in a project that you've been worked on for someone who had a sleep challenge.
Disorder, yeah. So we had a client a couple of years ago in Edina that, struggled with a sleep disorder and really needed some space that was, sound isolated from the rest of the home. So the rest of the family could carry on their normal everyday activities and not have to worry about those challenges of that noise infiltration. And so, we worked with Christine on that one too to pick out a wall product that kind of matched the aesthetic of the home, but, was this, well, you can speak to the product better than I can, Christine.
So the product was developed actually for the commercial environment, but is so beautifully applicable in residential settings, both from a soundproofing and aesthetic standpoint. So it comes in different thicknesses. It's in approximately a 4x8 sheet, and it essentially gets stuck onto your wall. And the thicknesses give you different noise reduction coefficients. And I think in your client situation, we use the highest NRC rating, like 0.95. It renews 0.95% of of the noise
and
in
it goes
space.
on like wallpaper.
Yeah.
So your wallpaper installer would
sure.
install it. So it comes in a roll, and but what an amazing difference that made. I mean, we even did it on the ceiling. The ceiling was white, and we used the white product. And then on the walls there was this off gray color that we used that worked with the aesthetic of that. So
Yeah, and it comes in a lot of different colors, so you can really
Oh, my
select it to
goodness.
fit your
Sure.
interior.
yeah.
What I love is that there's a lot of creativity that goes into finding products that support the accessibility or support the special needs. And that itself becomes kind of a celebration of, finding the product that does what you think will help in their future needs. And something to just keep in mind as you come see the house. I do want to encourage folks to go down to Linden Hills. It's just right around the corner from September 8th through the 30th. Check it out. It's an urban farm style. We're going to talk a little bit more about its style in the next segment, as well as give us the donation, where that goes, and how that
$5
supports.
to the Batsy Foundation. Yeah, they wonderful job.
And we'll be right back. You are listening to AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and be just a few short announcements, and then we'll be right back talking to you about this urban farmhouse. Stages Theater Company is dedicated to creating a space where diverse opinions, courageous dialogue, and community engagement is not only valued, but vital to our shared artistic and educational success. Stages Theater Company creates a welcoming home for all. For over 30 years, Stages has supported quality theater programming for children. Stages gives opportunities for youth to be on stage, backstage, in the audience, and in the classroom. Whether you come to see a show, enroll a young person in a workshop, or benefit from their outreach programs in the community, Stages brings art to life. Learn about Stages Theater by going to stagestheater.org and become part of the magic of live theater by taking your family to an amazing show or enrolling someone you love in an education program. Stages Theater Company operates out of the Hopkins Center for the Arts, located in Main Street in the heart of downtown Hopkins. For more information on Stages Theater, go to stagestheater.org. That's stagestheater.org.
Do you ever feel like the sidekick in your friendship? Has your name tag ever been printed Jamie's friend? Is your Instagram full of pictures of your friends and your elbow? You may be suffering from sidekick-itis, but there is a cure. Come see Next the Musical, a sidekick story, created by Angela Fox, Jason Kruger, and Tim Wick. A new kids musical playing at the Minnesota Fringe Festival August 2nd through the 12th. For more information, look us up on Facebook, Next the Musical, a sidekick story, or find our page on minnesotafringe.org. We hope to see you at Next the Musical, a sidekick story.
In 1994, Quentin Tarantino released Pulp Fiction, a groundbreaking film that changed the way movies were made. The only problem? You couldn't bring your kids. Until now. This year at the Minnesota Fringe Festival, we present a mortar-flagging adaptation of Tarantino's masterpiece, wiped clean of all the offensive sex, drugs, and language, but retaining all the wholesome and socially acceptable violence. Your kids will love it. Note, this show is not actually appropriate for children. A family-friendly Pulp Fiction is presented as part of the Minnesota Fringe Festival, taking place August 2nd through 12th. For more information, look us up on the Fringe Festival website at www.fringefestival.org. A family-friendly Pulp Fiction. Your kids will monster fishing love it. Actually, they won't. You should by no means bring your children to this show.
It flies way too fast here on Connections Radio Show. And we've been having so much fun with our good friend Peter Crane, who does Trestle Homes, TrestleHomes.com, and Christine Frisk, who is In Unison Design and Fuse. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
And we've been talking about this fabulous tour of the 2018 Dream Home in Linden Hills, September 8th through the 30th. And when we were talking on break, we decided it was important to kind of give you a picture of what it's like to go in and out of this house and what this house looks like. How would you describe it? So I'm going to start with you, Peter.
Well, for the listeners, if you jump to our website and you take a look at the house, it's kind of interesting because the front of it, you don't see, that ramp that you would typically see on an accessible home. And the way we kind of got around that is, we figure the main egress and ingress in any modern home is through the garage. And so when you look at this house from the front, you see a one-car garage, and that really isn't, you can put a car in there, but it wasn't meant for a car. It was really meant for strollers and bikes and, maybe a kayak or a canoe.
So it's a sporty little garage.
It's but we had this really unique opportunity because we had a curb cut. We had a garage access on the front, but we also had an alley access behind. And so we put a modern two-car garage on the back side of the home underneath. So it's a walkout kind of lower level. And that's where you access the house. So if you have accessibility issues, whether it's a wheelchair or a walker or a cane, you would access the house through the garage in the lower level. You would come in and there's an elevator. And the elevator will take you to the other, 2 floors. So it'll take you up a floor to the main level or up another floor to, the second floor where the master suite is and the other bedrooms and the accessible bath and that kind of thing. And so that was, these residential elevators are amazing today. They've come a long way, and they don't feel like commercial elevators. They're trimmed out in wood and they have wood floors, and there's a normal door on the front that looks like a closet door. It doesn't necessarily the only thing that gives it away is the little button, on the side. But
a mother could essentially hide out in the elevator.
Yes,
if needed.
She could hide there the whole time.
Yes.
With a bottle of wine, preferably.
And, I'd pull a chair in there. That would be great. Yeah. No, but it's we tried to make it, family friendly. That garage on the front is meant to, for that family that has, but it could also be that, there's a hobby car in there or something, that's kind of what that was designed for. But the main accessibility kind of component of accessing the house, how do we get in? That's through that lower level garage. So.
I think it's interesting that, having an elevator doesn't necessarily mean that you've got someone with disabilities.
Right.
There may be some advantages to having that elevator.
How about groceries?
Yeah.
Right. You come in through the garage, you've got to get all your groceries upstairs. You've got to move furniture to the second level. Mm-hmm. It's a very universal. It's a beautiful thing, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
No, we had my wife's parents, just passed away in the last few years, were in their 90s. They lived an amazing, just this beautiful life, together. And but they would visit us, and as they got older, the getting them upstairs at our house, was harder and harder. And it got to a point where we actually took a home office on the main level and temporarily converted it to a bedroom, when they stayed with us, so that they would have somewhere on the main level. But then, we didn't have a shower on the main level. Sure. So we still had to either get them upstairs or downstairs to, so this is one of those things where, you might not have someone in your immediate household that has, an accessibility issue, but, you surely have, relatives or family members, someone, friends, whatever, that might struggle with those things. And now you have an elevator. You have this wonderful extra thing in your home that allows you to access any floor.
And again, it's that concept of aging in place as well.
Right.
You might not need it now for a disability issue, but in the future.
But you will. You will have a torn ACL. Mm-hmm. You will have a knee replacement. You will have a family member that visits that's not comfortable on the stairs. So stairs are a dirty word in the healthcare industry. You can't go home until you can get up and down the stairs, if that's your only way to get and live in that structure. And so the elevator becomes kind of this universal piece of equipment that allows you to live in the house and through all your challenges of life.
And as you design it, and I go to your website now and looking at In Unison Design, there's that real emphasis on quality, sustainability, and value. So just as important as having these things that support us, we want things that are going to last long as well.
Right. Sustainability is a perfect word for describing what this house does. So we always think about sustainability as how we use products responsibly in our world, right? How do we preserve this great gift we've been given? But this is a house about sustainability from just a usage, right? So this is a sustainable structure from the human condition, right? It allows you to sustain a quality of life through all the different challenges, that come about just in day-to-day living.
And in looking at having folks come to see this, and we're coming down to the end of this segment, what are some things that you want them to especially be thinking about and looking at when they come out? And this is your special invitation to my audience to come see your home.
Well, obviously we would love everybody to swing by and take a look. That's why we do this. But this is us putting our art out there. It's putting our best foot forward, and it's a beautiful home. I think when people come out to visit, we would like them to, in the back of their head, be thinking about that accessibility part. Look at it like you'd look at any other Parade of Homes home, but also think about, well, if I had challenges, how does that affect the way I'm looking at the home? I mean, is it, notice those things, the wider doorways, the elevator, the accessible bathrooms, and the lack of curbs in the showers, and those kind of things, that the access, pathway from, the lower level garage, and how it's barrier free. There are no steps. It's all smooth transitions. The thresholds are all flush, those kinds of things. Pick up on that. Really look for it, because if you don't really look for it, if you aren't paying attention to that, you'll miss it. It's subtle. I mean, that was the idea.
That was the idea.
Yeah.
But then on top of it, we layered it with really creative, interesting materials.
Oh
design.
my goodness! Yeah.
It's both comfortable, but it's lighthearted and modern, mixed with that farmhouse aesthetic. So it's not just an urban farmhouse, it's also a modern farmhouse. And so the materials and the interior design has really focused around a combination of woods and metals and modern lighting and soft woods that are used throughout. So it's really a delight to move through.
I also think it's important to take a look at it so that you may want to think about hiring these folks to do something for yourselves, whether that's a renovation or building. So I want to make sure I give you their website. It's tresselhomes.com, and that's for Peter Crane. And then for Christine Frisk, it's inunisondesign.com. Terrific work. Thank you so much for being here. And don't miss the Parade of Homes, Linden Hills.